Alright, YouTube, it's time to talk about the joys of superstition. That is, sometimes I give a hard time to like the charlatans or people that believe in things that are fairly obviously false. And I say that as somebody who's involved directly with the occult, both the ritualistic and more the folkish side, as well as the philosophical material. As somebody who's into these things, we still have to be able to differentiate, essentially, between that which is nonsense, that which is either completely irrational and unreasonable, or violent, or serves no purpose, or, we can't trace the lineage of something that's saying that it's authentic, genuine to some mage living 500 years ago. We have to differentiate between that and more solid, reasonable philosophy, more positive ritualism, things of that nature. I think generally speaking, though, superstition is a joyful thing. People giving themselves a little spook story on Halloween or something like that. The idea, for instance, it's fairly common. It's like a child's game. You pluck the petals off the flower. Oh, he loves me not, and so forth. It's harmless fun. The idea of break a mirror, you've got bad luck. Well, maybe it'll keep your kids from breaking your bathroom mirror, so it might not be that bad a thing after all. Walking under a ladder being bad luck. It probably is not a great idea to walk underneath a ladder. So I fail to see the problem with this. A lot of the more folkish side, except when it involves herbal medicine, is ultimately completely harmless. When it does involve herbal medicine, it would fall into two categories. That which probably isn't a great idea, and that which is remarkably effective. There are certain herbal remedies that do work. Some of them are spurious, like take echinacea, your cold time will be shortened by 50%. Well, I tried that and it didn't seem to do as much as just taking an ibuprofen. It may be more herbal, it may be more supplement-y, it may be more non-GMO, organic, dolphin-friendly, smiley face sticker on the box sort of stuff, but ultimately it didn't appear to do anything, and I think that it might be a spurious claim designed to make money, just like a pharmaceutical company would make money by making spurious claims. But superstition in general is completely harmless. I think we also need to differentiate, I know I do, between, again, theism is one thing, religiosity is another, and spirituality is a third. You can be the most atheistic person. You do not have a belief in any divine beings because you feel that they're unreasonable. You don't attend any religious services. You don't go to a church or a mosque or synagogue or a temple or whatever. And yet you retain a core of spirituality, and often what that core is in these cases and many others is folkishness, it's folk traditions, it's superstition. A person may practice them subconsciously without even doing so by choosing to do so. They may, on the surface, they say, I don't believe in ghosts and witches and all that stuff. But at the same time, they would directly avoid behaviors that they would see as potentially calling down some curse or bad luck on them. I think that there are a few exceptions, though. The idea of, for instance, black cat, unlucky, black cat crossing your path, unlucky, something like that. There's a persistent problem. I don't have this problem, but there's a persistent problem with animals that happen to be black, cats or dogs or whatever, being adopted, for instance, at a veterinary clinic or a shelter at lower rates. Now, that's no impediment to me. Hell, I would have all black cats if I had my way. But at the same time, the reigning ethos of the culture is that they're unlucky. There's something negative about them because they happen to be, the color of darkness, the color of death, or something like that. So sometimes they can be harmful. Generally, though, they're not. Ghost stories and stuff like that are generally entertainment. That's what they are. They give people chills because they fit in, at least loosely, with their sort of folkish ways, their folkish beliefs. And there is no cosmopolitan subset of any culture that has fully cast aside the remnants of this superstition. Take the most secular, cosmopolitan, highbrow individual from the biggest metropolitan area that you can find, the biggest melting pot, and they'll still retain some superstitious beliefs. Even if it's 5 or 6 generations later that they came into that situation, they'll still have the trappings, the rudiments of it. In fact, what we've ended up doing, in a way, and this is amusing to me, this is the one positive aspect of globalism, the one sole and only good thing about the entire charade, which is globalist world trade interventionism and proxy wars and all these other things that attend the idea of having one world order, which will never be under one flag, by the way. They'd like to keep it the way it is. Trust me, it'll be a confederacy system, not a federalized system, post-federal, that is. The one good thing about it is that all the rituals and rites and superstitions and books and paths and all these spiritual forms from all different cultures, from, even tiny culture, have 1,000 people out in the middle of Africa who practice some form of shamanism that nobody ever really has encountered. Somebody will go there just to make a YouTube series, study everything about them, and pretty soon it'll all be available. And so we have new folkish ways, new superstitions, new rituals, new rites, new books, new traditions, and so forth that we can study, sometimes indulge in. You can learn about all the fantastic paranormal creatures supposedly in the Amazon or in the African rainforests or in the Gobi Desert or something like that. You can look up the Mongolian death worm, and you can look up Ogopogo, and all of these different things. You couldn't really do that half a century ago with any great ease, unless you happen to have a really, really good library around that you could research these things on. Or unless they made a documentary on it because somebody else studied it, and then it's all secondhand. Now that's not the case. Generally speaking, I think 99% of the time, these folkish superstitions are exceedingly positive. In fact, they bind people together. They become potentially a social outlet that doesn't even rely on technology. Often it's facilitated by it. It can involve it, but it doesn't have to be. It's something that's fun, literally, for everyone. There are some people who say, oh, well, that's silliness. Well, okay, well, then it's silly. There's nothing wrong with being silly once in a while. Take a break from being mature all of your life and join other people in actually entertaining themselves once in a while. So yeah, there's a little bit of a thought on the joys of superstition. It is a joyful thing. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to believe in many of these things. I know that I don't believe in many superstitions. For instance, I don't have a problem with a black cat crossing my path. If I were to break a mirror, I wouldn't spend the next 7 years worrying about bad luck. But at the same time, these things are entertaining. They're fun. Somebody should compile a list of all superstitions from all cultures into one God Almighty, 10-volume set of encyclopedic entries at some point. It'd be a fascinating read. That's about all. Peace out.